Hey everybody, how's it going today? Thanks for joining me on this lovely October day in New York City. Yeah, sorry I haven't been around that much. I've got some videos coming out lately, or haven't had that many. I've been writing some music, which is pretty cool. So I just wanted to ride with that, because when the muse strikes, you gotta roll with it. So I'm working on a new record, so I'm pretty excited about that. Something different, which is really exciting. So I'm psyched about that. So as it comes together, you will know more. So today, first of all, just some house cleaning. We're giving away a UA Lion, Universal Audio Lion, and Orion pedal, which is their tube tape echo emulation pedal. US only, because they just said, yeah, US only. I was like, all right, so sorry for all my international guys, I apologize. But I'm digging the Lion. It's a great pedal. And today I have my Repeated Blues Licks course on sale for 50% off. If you like the channel, you like all that's going on here, it's a great way to help out. Yeah, help me out. And BB's here, and everybody else is here, so it should be fun. All right, this is very exciting, I know. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I love fuzzes, but I've always had a really, really hard time. Angus, you got to be in it to win it. The drawing is at the end of the month. So about fuzzes, like I love them, but I just find them kind of hard to use, especially in a live situation, to get them to cut through. I often play with a 4-piece, you know, sometimes a trio, but a 4-piece. And I find whenever I stepped on one and I had a keyboard player, everything would just kind of disappear. I love the sound of it. So let me just flip over to my pedal board, and there's a way to solve it in my little messy pedal board there. Boom. All right, so today we're going to be using the UA Lion to show you how great this thing sounds. The Delverb. And Robert Keeley was nice enough to send me his Manis. This is all thank you to BV. The Manis, which is a Klon kind of circuit, or basically a takeoff with some tweaks on it, which are really quite cool. I've got my King Tone Fuzz, which is sort of my favorite fuzz that I've discovered, that I've really been dealing, really love this one. It's got, you could switch it between silicon or silicone, and whatever, and germanium, and it's got a few other switches. So I really dig this fuzz a lot, and even my friends who are total fuzz aficionados like this one a lot too. And over here I've got the Andy Timmons MK3 overdrive, which is really cool, which I believe is a takeoff sort of on a blues driver, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to talk about fuzzes. So let's first talk about what I'm doing. So the first thing here is we've got, I'm a Marshall guy, or two-rock guy largely, you know, both of those are my favorites, as you know. So I've got this set to like a super bass sound. We talked about a few videos ago when I first was announcing the giveaway, how to set it up. So let me just hear my bass tone. And all the effects are coming from the Delverb, that's the reverb. Delay on there. Sounds pretty darn good. So that's just the Lion and the Delverb together. So now let's talk a little bit about fuzz. So sometimes when I step on a fuzz, I've got it set out. Let's go to germanium. So it's kind of like a fuzz face. That's a great sound. I love that classic fuzz sound. If you roll back your volume, your fuzz cleans up. In a beautiful way, like that Hendrixy sort of, you know. Now, the cool thing about fuzzes, and this all depends, now I don't have a buffer on ahead of the fuzz. I turn the buffer off in this. It's got you can have a true bypass or buffered bypass. I turned off the buffer because that can often affect the way the fuzz sounds with the roll off. And so a lot of my pedals, a lot of times I don't, if I have a fuzz or an Octavia, I don't have a buffer before, because it interacts, it makes the interaction between the guitar and the pedal really weird. As can treble bleeds, as can maybe sometimes noiseless pickups, but this is working pretty well. No treble bleeds in this, and they're noiseless. I can plug in my old Strat, but it's really interacting beautifully. And the interesting thing is the roll. Check it out. So if I go, it's almost like between, on my knob here, on my knob, 8 and 10. This thing comes in. And you can hear that on some of those Hendrix recordings where he's kind of playing rhythm guitar, you know, especially on the live stuff. Then you're like this thing just jumps in. And, you know, he's got my understanding, having not spoken to Jimmy, is that, you know, you play oftentimes with the volume knob rolled off a bit. So I'm emulating that kind of a setup where it's kind of broken up amp here, right? And then fuzz, bring that back. Okay, so now when I brought up the volume, get that great sound. But I find sometimes in a trio that disappears a little bit. Or I want maybe something a little more singing, maybe something like Gilmore-esque kind of things. Now, he would do a number of things. We're going to talk about some of that today. So, the first thing I would say, don't talk to the pedal board because it's too quiet. I'm doing what I can, man. I put the mic here, I talk, you know. All right. Okay, so, thank you, though. So, if I do this, should I turn up my mic? I can turn up my mic. Let me turn up my mic. Let me do that. That'll solve that. It's so hard to do these things and not have that stupid little headset on, you know. And I got to turn up my mic a little bit. Let me know if it's too much. Thanks, BB. You're the man. I appreciate it. Okay, so got that super fat thing. Now, one thing I think that makes a fuzz work really well, by the way, let's get to this first, is I like to have it into a somewhat distorted amp anyway. If I run into a completely clean amp, which I can't, you know, other than Dying Lit Band, they sound kind of gritty, and they sound, gritty. That just in a way that like chainsaw-ish to me. So, thanks, BB. Appreciate it, man. So then if I hit the fuzz, like, so if I'm running to a clean amp, the fuzz into an already distorted amp helps it work better. I don't know exactly why, but it does. So, okay, so now, but what I get sometimes, you know, if I'm with the band, I step on and I want a solo, and if it's with not more than with a keyboard player, sometimes I feel like it disappears a little bit. And also, if you know you can't really use your neck pickup, usually too much on a fuzz, unless you want that sound, which has got a it's kind of that, you know, Hendrix, Clapton, outside woman blues or woman tone thing. Okay, so here's the trick. Eric Johnson does this a lot too. I'm going to, this is a Klon, so let's just set up the Klon first so hear what it's going to sound like. Or it's the Manis, which is a Klon circuit. And he's got some great mods in there, which I really like. I'll run over those pedals in a minute. They're really great. Right? That's your typical kind of circuit there. So check this out. So the Klon, or this Klon type circuit, cuts out some bass and boosts your mids. And so that, to me, is what was missing from a fuzz. Now, you could probably do this with an EQ pedal. You could definitely do it with an EQ pedal. I don't usually have one on my board. I usually have a Klon or some kind of Klon circuit on my board. I think this is going to be going on my board. So that does this. So you've got this sort of thing, right, going on with the fuzz. It's not a lot of mids. And then what you do when you step on that Klon circuit is you boost your mids. So that helps you cut through the mix, but it also adds sustain. I can dial in how much more drive I want, but I get a bit more of a singing thing. So to me, it can be a bit more Gilmore-ish, you know. Right. Now, I've been hearing that Gilmore does that. He'll run, it's got that power, what's that power thing? Angus, help me out, what's the name of that pedal? The famous old boost, like early boost pedal. So this is running after it. And once I figured that out, there's a few things that it allows me to do. So I can have this fuzz tone that I really like on full, like. Love that sound. It sounds almost like Clapton-y, right? But then, even with the Strat, then I can hit this. Now I'm getting more gain, but I am cutting through. So now I can start to tweak it to my taste. I can bring down the gain. And then you can ride your volume. Now, one thing I really love too, by adding this on, check it out. I'm gonna use my neck pickup. So we got this, like, cool tone. So it tightens up the neck pickup, so you don't get that more farty thing that is cool when you want it, but sometimes it's not cool if you don't want it, right? So just kind of mess with it a bit more. You get all that great sustain, so without it. And I still get all those colors that I can get from a fuzz with my volume knob. See what I mean? So these two together really solved a big problem that I had with using fuzzes. So now I'm going to put one back on the board. Sometimes you don't see them on my board. It comes down to how much space I've got and how much I use it. And sometimes if you kind of stack some overdrives, you get a fuzzy-like thing. But I want to try to fit one on the board. But, you know, real estate space on the board is always at a premium, especially when you have all these really great pedals to mess with. Okay, so let's just switch over to the silicon to hear the difference. Let me play with the germanium. Right, you get that kind of big sound. And I can clean up again. The germanium cleans up a little better, a little lower output. Generally, I prefer that, but it can be a little picky live. or temperature-wise, which what I also like about this fuzz is you can dial in. If the red light's on, you're dialing in the bias, so it's really cool. So, now one thing about fuzz is if you turn everything off, here, sometimes you get some radio interference, so you got to remember to turn a fuzz off. If you turn your volume down and keep your fuzz on, sometimes you hear like this weird sound happens. So that's one thing you want to think about. Okay, so now the other thing you can do, as long as this isn't buffered, is you can put it in front. So that's something interesting. I generally don't do that, but it is a different sound, and I've heard when I go through watching these Gilmore really dedicated YouTube pages that that's something that he might do. So here we got the fuzz on. Let's hear this first. That's a bit. Great sounding pedal. Now I'm going to turn on the fuzz. Let's go back and forth. Oops, sorry, wrong pedal. That's another option. I feel like it loses a bit of the fuzz tone quality when we do that, but it is something really, really cool to think about when you're dialing in a fuzz, how you might want to do it. The thing to remember, like I said, especially when you're running on germanium, if you have a buffer in front of it, it'll affect the roll off. It really messes up the beautiful things about fuzzes for the most part. Like I said, the same thing with my Octavia. I'm looking on the floor because I have my octave pedal on the floor. When I have a buffer in front of it, it just doesn't work right. It doesn't interact with the volume knob well. But after, like I said, one of my favorite sounds. This sounds really big. Right? We'll get to the questions. I'll get to the second question in a second. Right. Now, let me get to some of the questions, but some of the other things I saw Angus pop about a big muff. Yeah, now, I think I got a big muff in the closet. I should have thought about that, but I didn't. Big muffs to me are definitely mid-range anemic. You know, sometimes you step on them and you really disappear. I like the sound of them a lot, but they disappear. So this is another great thing. If you put the Klon type circuit, or even a tube screamer, anything with a big mid-range bump and something that shaves off the low end, you're going to get that same effect. So I've done it with big muffs, and that sounds great too. And that's sometimes what Gilmore does as well. So that kind of cured the whole thing. So when I use a fuzz, I can actually use it. Oh, Robert Keeley's in the house. Hello, Robert. Thanks for joining, man. And thanks for sending these over. I'm loving them. Hopefully, if you've got anything you want to add to my blabbing about this, please do so. So as BB's saying, the issue with the fuzz interfacing with other pedals is impedance based, right? So you got to make sure that there's no buffer ahead of time. So on my big board, it is the Octavia, which has the same kind of fuzz idea, and then a fuzz, and then a buffer. Because other than that, it just sounds terrible. It ruins all the fun stuff, like I said. Power booster, thank you. That was a power booster, right. Color sound power booster. That's what Gilmore was using too. All right, so let's go down some questions. I saw there were some questions. Are there any questions? I really like these, this combo. Hold on a second. Just going down, see if there's any questions. Do you still have the Cornerstone fuzz? I never had the Cornerstone fuzz. He brought it over. I didn't own one. That's a nice pedal too. Across the board of all the ones I've been trying, I have a number of fuzz pedals. This is just the one that was the easiest, and it was the one that always sounded good, and it's got this combo. You can play either there's silicone or germanium, and I like that both a lot too. Question. I'm not sure I'm getting the relevant info here. How is your signal chain working specifically with this fuzz? Okay, let me just run over it one more time. My guitar is going in, and I have the Keeley MK3, and I have it set to true bypass. This is an overdrive, I think, based upon the blues driver thing that Robert and Andy Timmons did together to kind of fine tune, into a king tone fuzz, which I have. It's basically a sun face or a fuzz face at this point. And over here is Robert Keeley's take on the Klon type circuit with some tweaks that are awesome. And I'm running into the UA Lion and then into the Delverb. So the line is straight through this way. This is just emulating an amp. It's just an amp sim, and I think it sounds pretty great. And I was saying, for a lot of times with me with fuzzes, I love them, but they would disappear in the mix. So one way that really helped a lot was this. I get this nice sustain, and I get this mids, and this is the main thing again. It's the mids that are really the trick. That's the big thing, man. Like when you listen to Marshalls, or like for me, like AC30s, I love AC30s, but not at home. I only like them on stage because there's not a lot of low end. When I'm playing like my 2-rock or like the super bass, everything is huge and amazing sounding. But the 2-rock, when I'm playing live, I have that bass really low down. There's a lot of low end coming out of a super lead, or I'm sorry, out of a 2-rock. Also, like with the Friedman, the Jakey Lee, there's not a lot of low end. There's the right amount, like also like on an AC30. So when you're in the context of a band, you're not taking up the same register as the bass player, which you're fitting right where the guitar should be. So as I was saying, sometimes with fuzzes, in my case especially, not in a trio situation, they can get a little lost, I felt. So this has really helped me a lot to bring it to the front. Cut through like a Klon or a Tube Screamer does. It shaves off some of that low end and brings up your mids, so you cut through the mix. I also get the nice added benefit of having some more drive if I want. Okay, so for that really singing stuff. It sounds a little Eric Johnson-y too. It's not exactly what Eric Johnson does, but it gets that same kind of violin-like sustain, if you want to call it that. Okay. Some other questions here. How are you monitoring the UA Lion? It sounds great online. I am plugged directly into my universal audio interface, the Apollo, just directly into that. There's no preamps going on or anything. I'm just using the output of the Lion and just adjusting the input volume accordingly, just for the meters, right? And I am monitoring everything through, I have Atom Audio A7 speakers, studio monitors. They're pretty good, but that's basically what I'm doing. So this is what I love about this setup, and like the Lion, and these two things work great. If I want to go anywhere, I just bring these two. I want to record something, it sounds like a Marshall. I don't have to bring my Fractal. I'm a huge Fractal guy. I love their stuff. But, on tour, I'm bringing this as a backup. As I talked about before, I run into a little power amp. I brought a Seymour Duncan power stage with me. Have this, and if anything goes down, I sound checked with this a few times, and I was like, it sounds pretty good. And the knobs are just like an amp. So that's really cool. You can choose your cabinets, and you can choose bass, middle, treble. We talked about that in the last one, but I think it's great. I don't know how many people are talking about it, but I don't know. Ooh. I gotta warm up more before I go online. Right? Sounds great, and I can get a lot of different sounds out of it as well. Okay. Let me get to the questions. The Kingtone Fuzz looks like designed by a safecracker. I know. I like the aesthetics on it are really nice. Robert, I love how you make the MK3 true bypass so that it doesn't affect your fuzz. And somebody just asked, how do you do that? You just hold it down. You hold down the on switch until it blinks 3 times. So 3 times for buffered bypass and 2 times for true bypass. So it's on true bypass right now. And so you can also do that as well on the Klon, but part of the Klon thing is that the buffer, I think. So, and it's factory to the buffer. Univibe pedal in front or behind the fuzz? I always put the fuzz first and then into the univibe. I find the other way around. I know apparently Jimmy moved it around, and I know Trower does it a certain way. I always like to have it after the fuzz. I think beforehand the univibe becomes way too swishy. Like it becomes more about the effect. You hear a lot more of the univibe than the other way around. I much prefer the sound of it before. Sorry, I prefer the sound of the fuzz before the univibe. That's what I prefer. Also, if you univibe, if you got a newer one, if it's got a buffer in it, then when you turn on the fact it's buffered anyway, and then it can be a impedance thing. It just for me has gotten rid of some of those problems, So Nick Granville has got a good question there. Everybody go check out Nick's page and Angus Clark's page. Everybody go to Angus Clark's page. He's been posting and it's been great. He's doing a thing on Gilmore lately and it's killer. Next question. Do you find fuzz works better with single coil pickups or humbucker? Generally, single coils, but let's try a humbucker. Let's just hear it. And then we can get into messing around with the switches on this. I really like this pedal. I haven't had as much time to switch with the Andy Timmons pedal yet because I've been writing a lot. So my head just went into writing mode, but this has been great. I've had it on. I've got a KTR and I've got a bunch of other kind of variants, and I just went back and forth. I'm like, yeah, it sounds great. So let's get a humbucker. All right, let's get a PRS. Let's hear it. I mean, there's the, let me turn up some delay there. There's a lion. Lion cleans up great too. Okay. Ooh. Sorry. Okay, so let's turn on the fuzz. Sounds pretty good to me. Now, it's probably some of the way I have the pickups set up too. These are Ron Ellis pickups. They're lower output. They're his LRPs, and I don't have any treble bleeds, and it's 50s wiring. So I think that really affects the way it's going to interact. I've heard treble bleeds can affect the way the fuzz works. Now I might actually drop down the fuzz a bit. Right? Let's hear that. Sounds great. With that neck. Yeah. So I think more traditionally people use fuzzes with single coils. I think there's more control over them, but you could dial it in. And there's all this stuff about fuzzes that really, every fuzz is going to be different depending on what, diodes they're using. And then, it's the ratio of how much volume you have up and how much fuzz. I'm always surprised that Eric Johnson's got it really low. And then you see other guys who just crank the volume on output on a fuzz and keep the fuzz lower. So that is something you have to work on your own. I am no expert in that. I just do it by ear. That sounds good. There's probably the fuzz expert out there who's like, no, this is the way you're supposed to do it. But I don't know. It works really well. So, I ask because most of the fuzz tones I like are usually single coils, Gilmore and Jimmy. Yeah, me too. I think I prefer overall a fuzz with singles. And since I largely play single coils, I go with that. Seems like this is Lamar Brewster. Seems like a great setup for touring, easy to carry, don't have to chase sound with mic placement, etc., consistent to the front of house. Yeah. I have not gone front of house with it. I have done demos with it. I've done YouTube lives, as you can hear. And never at any point did I say like, oh, I wish it were my fractal, or here's the truth, folks, as we all know. I got amazing amps behind me, and I love them, and I love the way they all sound. And I usually run them through my UA aux behind me. But once you go into the aux, you are in a digital world. You're getting an IR, you're getting a reproduction of a cabinet and microphones and things like that, and effects. So, is it the same as the amp? No, it's whatever sounds you can get that sound good to your ears through your system. And when I first, you guys know, I work with UA. And they gave me this to give away, so it's sponsored, sure, whatever. But I did a video on this a while ago, showing some Clapton stuff, and I was going between this, and I was going through, that between my Marshall Super Lead. I wasn't trying to tone match because that's really hard to do with IRs and all this. But at one point, and I'm not lying, because what's the point? I was switching between two, and I forgot which one I was on. Now, is that the same as on a gig? No, I mean, what's going to beat a super lead to a 412? Nothing, But when I was sitting here, like I was going to the aux, and I was going through that, and I had them to the same effect chain, and I was like, oh, which one am I on? And I honestly thought I was on the super lead when I was on the Lions. That was pretty cool. They sounded different, but they both sounded great. So that's the best thing I could say. When I say different, it's not the same IR, all this stuff. There's too many things to get that. To try to tone match that is, I don't have the time for that. You know what I mean? Does it sound good? Do I like it? Yes, I do. Okay. Let's get some more questions. Jumped up there. Robert, how would you know the difference between the GE transistor and a GE diode made on a Manis? Yeah, let's talk about that a bit. We can get some fun questions. Let's just tweak some knobs while we got Robert here, too. Let's stick with the humbuckers right now. We'll dial back the gain here. So this is a traditional Klon sort of setting. Playing all the same licks. All right, now, if you go to a germanium transistor, changing the transistor, so, yeah, germanium transistor and a germanium diodes. Okay, so this is a germanium transistor. Let's hear the difference. I'm hearing it to be a little cleaner. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's a little less darker, like a little less, not muddy is not the right word, but it's a little sharper in a good way. Okay. A little less gain. It's a good matchup, of course. Seems a little more articulate, a little more highs going on, a little more open sounding. I like it a lot. And then one thing that I haven't messed with too much is you can boost up the bass a bit more, which is the opposite of what I kind of wanted to do with the fuzz, but let's hear that. So let's go to the full traditional Klon setup. And then let's put both those switches up. And if you guys can hear the difference, I can hear and I can kind of feel the difference when I'm playing. I love those guitar sounds. I can feel the difference. But yeah, but definitely it's there and it's cool. Because sometimes, the Klon can be a bit mid-rangey, and sometimes it cuts off a little more low end than I would want, and it can sound a bit nasally depending on how you're running it or what you're running into, and blah, blah, blah. But it's been great. If you guys want to pick one up, you can get Sweetwater Link today. Some feel difference in the compression or feel with the transistor diode switch. Easier to feel than here. The bass switch is more obvious. Yeah, totally. When I'm playing it, I do feel a difference. And I like both live. Just switch to a Strat for a sec. I think sometimes they're more obvious on Strats. All right, let's go to the real deal. The old strings. Yeah, I can definitely feel it when I'm playing. Yeah, it takes away some of that congestion. Bass. Yeah, that's a bit too woofy for me. Traditional. Then you gotta just start to dial it in for the pedal and you got it set. Different guitar. Big change in the guitars. Like I said, what I like if you turn that on, I can still get the roll off of the fuzz. Obviously more gain because I've got that dialed in, but so it's cool. Like I said, I love the combo of these two. It took me a while to figure it out. Do I have a Tube Screamer? I've got like something Tube Screamer-esque somewhere. I don't actually own a Tube Screamer, which is kind of funny. I've just never gotten along with them so well. But I get it. And I get it more and more. It was kind of more the SD1 sort of thing than the Tube Screamer, coming from the metal background. So these two in tandem work really, really great. So if it's a Klon circuit of any kind or a Tube Screamer, once again, you're changing the EQ. And then you get the added benefit of boosting. If you add more gain, you can get more singing sustain. So it's this gain staging thing with the fuzz, which I found suddenly makes the fuzz work great for me. Whereas in the past, it was not one of my favorite pedals to dig into. All right. Is there any more questions, guys? Let's go back to, where's that chat window? Too many windows open. All right. Yeah, once again, it's only, the giveaway is only, sadly, in the United States. Oh, I had a question here. Bro to bro, how close is a lion to a super lead? If you play through, it's just me and you on the internet, nobody else is going to hear. If I play something through loud enough, am I going to feel the magic? Well, dude, volume is the magic for for a huge part. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I have never heard a simulated thing sound as good as the real thing if you A/B them in the room together. See what I'm saying? If you're running a super lead at its volume through a real Marshall cabinet or something, you know, good stuff, and then you plugged in a simulated thing into flat response speakers. No, I mean, come on, one is the thing. But that thing is kind of useless in a lot of ways. Like it sits here. It's too big, it's too heavy, it's too loud. I love owning it, but, you know. So this is what it comes down to for me in many ways. Like, I've talked about this before. And with my own band, I'm just not comfortable enough with a lot of the digital units, say like the Fractal, to use live. Angus Clark is online. He tours with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, plays to hundreds of thousands of people, and he uses the Fractal. He's got sound guys. They dial it in. They've worked through it. He's not changing knobs on a gig. They're playing, it's different. So the Fractal stuff is amazing. But for me, in a live situation, in a kind of improv band, playing different clubs every night with, not a traveling sound guy and all that kind of stuff, that's going to be difficult for me. So I want to use a real amp. If that went down, something like the Line is really easy for me to take with me, because then I can plug that in and make it to the gig, and it's got knobs. There's no, menu diving. I think the Fractal stuff is amazing, but like I said, you really have to know it really, really well. And then if you're talking about flat response speakers, if you ever watch any John Cordy's channel, he's talking about all this stuff like, I don't like these, and he's like trying the different stuff. I think this is best. Now I'm going to it's really, really tricky stuff to get that flat response speaker. So in any world, in any situation, I'm always going to choose a real amplifier over anything simulated. If I cannot choose something that is the real amplifier, Marshall super lead at volume, you got to go for something lower wattage. Just all those things. If you can't do that, some of these options are really amazing, whether it's a Fractal or something like this. The reason why I'm talking about this is, one, because we're doing the giveaway. Also, it's just easier. Like if somebody said, do you want to bring your Fractal on a gig? You got to go hit it direct to the house. Or do you want to just bring this and your pedal board? I'm going to bring that because I'm so used to it. And they're like, hey man, it's a little bright. Or on the gig, I'm like, it's a little bright. I don't have to menu dive. I just go over and turn the treble down. So it acts like an amplifier on the floor. So to me, it's a matter of simplicity and how well you know your gear. If you are someone like, John Cordy and like Leon Todd, or someone who knows how to work a Fractal or a quad cortex, all these things from the faceplate really fast, I've got it all set up ahead of time, I can change those parameters. Yeah, great. Awesome. Then you know your gear. I've never spent enough time doing that because I'm pretty lazy. And I'm always going for a real amp. And as Angus said, I totes brought my 50 watt plexi to the bitter end last month. And you did, and it sounded amazing. It sounded great. Jeff Motter, not a Fuzz question, but didn't you used to have a Germino amp? I know you demoed one at Watchtower. Yeah, I used to have a Germino Club 40. It was awesome. It was before I really knew how to use an amp like that. It was not a master volume. It just wasn't super practical for the way I was playing. Reverb and all those things. I knew how to play Marshalls and stuff, but then I got involved with T-Rock and then started using those, and I've never kind of looked back since. And the Reverb, and Eli's a good friend, and Greg Germino makes, if you're going to buy like a classic Marshall, reissue, like something like this is a 72, just get one of Greg's amps. They're just amazing. He's so hardcore about it. Everything, it's a total repro. It's great. But so for instance, the reason why I got the Friedman was it had the bells and whistles that I want. I can run the 4-cable method. I don't have to bring a attenuator, etc. It's just a little bit more modern take on that sound. And then for when I need that old school thing, I've got the super lead, or I've got the little Marshall, or I can run the Friedman the way it is. So, okay. Between Jeff and Keith, I'm finally getting a PRS order S2 special made with reclaimed woods, expecting in summer. I hear those are great. Good for you, man. I love PRSs. I used to have an issue with them because people are judgmental, and I was as well. So I started playing them and finding the right model and finding the right ones. And like I said, and realizing that they are super cool people. I saw that Keith was here. What's up, Keith? How's it going? Nick Greenfield, yeah, I'm the same. I use amps whenever I can. I use the Fractal stuff when it suits the gig. Theater shows, orchestras, or anything where volume is an issue. Yeah, for sure. And like, as you well know, it's a matter of making sure you know how to program it. And that's where I've been extremely lazy about programming it on the faceplate. I'm a whiz on the desktop, but that's not going to happen on a gig. Hold on, let me get my computer out. Who wants a computer on stage too? All right, so let's mess around a bit more. Let's check out the blues driver, or the MK3 driver. Let me get a guitar that doesn't have dead strings on it. All right, let's go with these. And I've got the DiMarzio areas in this too. So. Let's take a look at some of the settings. All right, let's go for the Nocturne Clean. So that's some of like Andy Timmons sound. I don't know if he's running into a clean amp or not. Just to be sure, let's clean that up a little bit, see where we're at. Yeah, pretty clean. Yeah. Maybe that got a little darker. That's a nice combo. Okay, that would be... All right, so the clipping drive, that's the silicon up, and then the high pass range down. So I like that. Right? Yeah, that sounds great. Crank up the gain. Now it's out of focus. Hold on. Come on. Come on, camera. It wasn't focused. God, hold on. Thanks, baby. Thought I had it set on set focus. But, you know how this stuff goes. Hold on, let me try something here. Ugh. Hold on. There we go. All right, cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. I don't know, man. You sound great. So if Robert's still around, you sound awesome. Are you running in stereo mono? This is mono. If you watch that fun video that Michael Nielsen invited me to do about running stereo, and Angus was on, and a bunch of us were on there. I never run stereo. I do at home, maybe with my Fractal, if I want to get some stereo effects, because it's fun. Stereo delay is awesome, especially if you're sitting in front of the speakers. But on a gig, I'm never running stereo. It's ridiculous. You can't hear it. I don't know. And my favorite, the big flex that Angus gave was, yeah, when I'm playing in the arena, half the arena can't hear it. Let's do my pick across the floor. Yeah, half the arena can't hear it. The left side of the arena can't hear it. Oh, Michael Nielsen, big hearing too. Good timing, huh? Good to have you, man. I got a video coming out on Monday, and Michael's in it, and Angus is in it, and a bunch of other fun people are in it too. Back to this. So I mean, we could dial some other stuff in the Lion, but any questions? Once again, like we got the Lion giveaway. Was also the Orion, which is their tape echo pedal. So just fill it out. You could win. I feel like Angus is gonna win. I can feel it. Feel it in my plums. Yeah, stereo is fun at home and a hassle everywhere else. Yeah, I'm not moving 2 amps. And then your sound guys got to know all those things. And I think, Dave Friedman, who definitely knows everything, was like, yeah, nobody does that. It never sounds good. So kind of how I felt about it. If you like some of the noodly licks I was playing, I have a course on sale for 50% off. And it's my Technique Builder repeated blues rock repeated licks. That's 50% off. So if you want to help with the channel, it's a great way to do it. Also, check out Angus got his new course out too. So go over to angusclark.com and check out Angus's page. Any questions, guys? So to recap for anybody who's new, I'm out of tune. Haven't mentioned how much I love this guitar. I think you see me play it all the time, so you know that I love this guitar. All right. I never play my old Strat. I just play this thing. Okay. So, kind of running into my Marshall, and then put my fuzz on. I love that sound. And then you can really kind of fine tune it by putting on the K circuit, Klon circuit, to add that cut through in the band. You still get that cool. You get that nice sustain and more gain. This is a Tuttle, not a Tokai. It's a Tuttle. It's the Jeff McElwain signature model. Contact Michael Tuttle for your very own. See you, Nick. So putting this through helps cut down. It pushes the mids forward. It takes some of the hairiness off of the low end. And I think it makes a fuzz really, really useful in a live situation. And as we mentioned a little earlier, especially with something like a big muff that is really mid-range deficient, you can hit that mids and it shoots it right up front and cuts through. Victor B, what was the name of your course for playing blues by yourself? Blues by yourself. That's the name of the course. Yeah, that's the name of it. Jeff, you mentioned writing new music. To me, Highlands is almost a perfect piece of guitar music. Thank you. Do you feel any pressure to keep up with that standard or even better it? Of course. Thank you for that. I hear that quite a bit from that song, and one or two others. There's a song called Marta on the new record, the latest record. Yeah, sure. But, you know, you got what you got. You know, I like a lot of, I hope I like my tunes. I take it really seriously. Hopefully, you know, one of the compliments that I've gotten that I really appreciate is like, people said, I could put on your record and my wife will want to listen to it too, which is kind of nice. You know what I mean? So it's not just a guitar nerdy record, I hope, my stuff. So the new record, that being said, should be interesting. It's going to be a lot heavier. More leaning back to my first record, so that song that's always on the intro, more along those lines. Been kind of digging that, kind of getting back to some of the root stuff. So it is not a blues record at all. But none of my records are blues records. My record with Robin, there's no blues tunes on it either. So it's really kind of the way I play guitar and where my head's at right now. I just want to do something a little kind of different. And so I'm enjoying the tunes I'm writing so far. And are they as good as Highlands? I don't know. You know, I can't say. I wrote Highlands a really, really long time ago. So it's kind of a bit of a bummer that you wrote maybe one of your best tunes, like, you know, a really long time ago. But, you know, things get in your way. Family, you know, those kind of things that kind of take you off the path. So I feel I'm getting back on the path again. So I'm psyched about that. You ever try Analog Man fuzzes? I got the BC 183 sun face and love it. Yeah, on the front recording is a sun face. That's that fuzz. I ended up selling it because somebody offered me just an absurd amount of money for it. And I was like, that's a lot of money for a fuzz pedal that's sitting in my closet. So I had to let that one go. They're great, but I'm very happy with the King Tone for my fuzz needs. A friend of mine's got a bunch of those Isle of Tone fuzzes that are like $2,000 each and all that. So he's like, yeah, I like this one a lot. Like, I don't know if it goes, you know, the consumer level fuzz, you know, would be like that one. And he's got a few of them. My friend over at Watchtower Guitars he's a fuzz guy. And I just can't bring myself to drop that kind of money on a fuzz face. On a pedal. Yeah, that does one thing. I can't do it. Did you have to go on a deep dive through the app to get the Lion and Delverb going? Not really. Like, the cool thing is, okay, there's a phone app for all the UA pedals, and they've got presets. No, I didn't. There's some things that I've liked that I've used. There's like a Clapton setting, like a Cream setting that I really thought was great, and I used it on one of my videos a while ago. But this here, I just dialed in. If we just talk about it for a minute, I like super basses. I like super leads a lot. But if you're using pedals, I think super basses sound really pedal friendly. And I'm not going for the brown sound. I'm going for more like that Hendrixy sort of thing, So right here, I'm on super bass. Let's just dial one in. I'm gonna go. That's my preset. We have one preset, which is great. So that's So let's start over. So I'm gonna just flip everything to some different place and blah blah blah. So we got this. Let's go to super bass. I like this cab right here. There's a lot to knowing about how to dial in a Marshall we talked about the last time, but so we got okay, now there's alternate functions. I can get a little more gain from it, like a bit of a boost. Like a Echoplex preamp, and then presence. So if I want to make a super lead or a super bass, which does not have a lot of gain or as much. So yeah, I might have, I don't know what I did exactly on that one, but it's very easy to program if you want. Like a plexi, super lead. So we got. Brown. Yeah, different cab. It's a nice cab too. So it's either between those two. And if you go into the app, you can start to fine tune it more. They've got a lot of great sounds in it. I think it's awesome. And you got a room mic in here, which is really cool too. So my preset, super lead. There you go. Pretty much it. Yeah, Jesse makes great pedals, especially like the Fuzz. The most I ever paid for a pedal is $600. That's a lot too. It is for a pedal. Yeah. Guitar Grandpa, the Delverb I can vouch for. I use it on bass is always on my feed amps. I love the Delverb. A lot of times I just have it either in my effects, but it's on my main. It's on here right now, but it's on my pedal board. I also have a UA Golden, which I'm going back and forth with on my main pedal board, but sounds great because the Golden's got two presets for the reverb, so I kind of like that now a little more. But if I'm going to build like a pedal board and there's one I need reverb and delay, I'm just going to bring that depending on the gig and walk in with a pedal board. I'm going to use the Delverb because it sounds great. Pretty cool. The treble pickup sounds fantastic with the Lion. Is that a noise this pickup? Yeah, it is, for sure. It's a DiMarzio. I don't remember what number it is. My friend Steve Blucher, been friends with Steve forever. He sent it to me because I love the neck on this one too, and he was great. He's like, I love the neck on that. Sounds great. Not loving the bridge choice for you. And I've got the bridge, the scratchy tone knob hooked up to it. I can hear the strings, boys. It's not coming through the amp. No, I got the microphone on. Let me turn off my microphone for a second. So am I hitting the strings hard? On certain things, sure. It's a Strat. Sometimes you want to hit the Strat really hard. Also, I've got a bit of a compressor on the microphone to help compressor limiter, so sometimes it brings it up a little louder than it actually seems to be. So the mic is pretty hot in that sense because I keep I want you to hear it. So yeah, it's a tough one. Other than that, I would probably forget to keep on turning on and off the microphone or turning it on again. And also, I don't want to play with one of those, the things we were using on Too Far Forever. Those little headset mics are really goofy looking, I think. What's up, Michael Gilberto? I didn't say hi to you. Simon, I've seen you, right? Okay, yeah, your gear page, a guy from the gear page from that pedal show. I've seen your name on the pedal show. What's up, man? All right. So any more questions, anyone? I mean, there's so many great pedals. There's so many good ones, great ones. I've been digging these. Like I said, Robert sent these to me through BB. BB hooked me up, and thank you. I like them. They're nice and light, and they're small, and they sound really good, as to be expected. I really like the Halo as well. That's a great pedal. You see me using the El Capistan a lot, just because I've been using it forever, and I'm so used to it. The Halo is really cool too, as is the Delverb. There's so many good pedals, like I said. It all depends which you want to, what works for you. First of all, what you're used to, and then also interface-wise, what makes you feel most comfortable when you start playing it. That's the biggest thing for me. Well, sound is first, and then am I comfortable? Does this make sense to me? Things with lots of menus, I'm just not good with. I just don't like them. I'm old school. I just think about it in a gig. Like I don't want to hit a menu to change something. That's not, because I find with my band, I like, sorry, just looking at the chat. I like using the effects as part of the performance. So my tunes live, I just go with whatever there is. And the thing that worked out best for me lately is it's on my board. If you watch that video with that 4-cable method, is I have an expression pedal on my delay pedal now. I know Andy Timmons does this and a lot of other guys. I just took a little while to get to that. So what I really like is that if I want more delay, I just bring it up and down. I usually change my delay sound that much. So I've got the El Capistan, and I can do this with the Halo, and I can just bring in the volume, the expression pedal to change the mix. And that's been working really well for me, and a tap tempo. Would I like some more delay sounds and differences? Yeah, but a lot of it ends up requiring, like I have a timeline which somehow got bumped, and it bent one of the knobs, and the knob it bent, of course, is the one that you press down, the decoder thing, and then it doesn't work anymore. So, it's like, oh great, this is completely useless now. So I got to send it back over to Strymon to get that fixed, which will probably cost me more than the pedal costs used or something. So I can't use that. So I went back to the El Capistan. I've been really happy. The only thing about the Halo is the Halo core is cool as well, is the pedals they're kind of close together, and I end up stepping on both of them. So that was the only thing for me was my, I don't want to say big feet, but just playing live. I've tried. I need things separated a little bit more. I've done this like in gigs in like Europe. I brought it too tight a pedal board and ended up having to move things because it felt good at home, and you start doing a gig and you start stepping on two things at once. So the answer around that so far has been to use the expression pedal for the delay mix. And that's basically what it is. And then I have a tap tempo, and that's been really curing a lot of the issues that I had with things on gigs that I wanted. Because if you set your delays at home, it's going to be completely different on a gig, right? You're going to be louder. Everything's going to be wetter than you think. And so when I did that pedal show, I had presets, which was cool. But then I found on my gig, sometimes it was just a little bit different. And then I'm like, oh man, that's too wet. That's too dry. And I'm leaning over. And the last thing I want to do on a gig is to bend over and change knobs mid solo. Like I need to turn the delay up or down. The pedal's been great. I set the sweep to, I know where I kind of like the lowest one, and I set the highest one. Takes a little while to get used to the sweep, but you can set how much the sweep is, and that's been really useful for me as well. So I'm really digging that. That's been helpful. Good overview. Always enjoyed it as well. Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Great to see you on live. How gritty do you like a fuzz to be? That fuzz pedal is that fuzz pedal is a true belter of a pedal. You know, all around. I kind of like something like this kind of stuff. You know, it all depends. I mean, like I said earlier, but you might have missed. It's like it's what you need for the tune, how much fuzz you put on versus how hard you push the front end volume, right? So am I getting more fuzz by turning up the volume? Great sound. But you got to get a huge volume boost on your pedal board. Maybe you don't want that. So I can turn that down and then maybe turn the fuzz up. It's going to be a little bit of a different sound. So it's all different flavors that you really want to experiment with. I'm not an aficionado in it, and on a gig it might change other than me sitting here playing through my monitor. So it's definitely something that if you have a band and you got your pedal board and you're rehearsing through your gear, that's the way you got to deal with it. That's the nightmare of presets. Which one, Michael? Trying to get that delay right on a gig just drives me absolutely crazy. And like I said, there's been gigs where I watch a video back and I'm leaning over on the floor and turning stuff in the middle of a song. I don't like the way that looks. And then I don't know where it was. And I was watching somebody, it might have been Andy playing. He's like, can I bring up the mix with my foot? And I'm like, you moron. You know. Michael Cope, yeah, we did cover it. I'm not enjoying fuzz with humbuckers. Are single coils better match for fuzz tones? I think ultimately yes, for sure. The pickups you have in your guitar, your PRS, I happen to know well. Lower output pickups are going to be the best, and the way that guitar is wired is the optimal. But yeah, I prefer single coils for sure with fuzzes. Oh, right, Michael, home versus gig, right? They're two completely different things. The low end, how wet everything is. You got this great sound. You go in the gig, everything's too bassy, too distorted, and too wet, usually. So on gigs, I end up playing drier and drier and cleaner and cleaner. Definitely compared to what you did at home, and definitely much less low end. There's that Fletcher Munchin effect or something like that. Okay, cool, guys. I appreciate y'all being here. Add a small momentary switch to cure the tap dance on a small pedal board for no room switcher. Okay, here's my question, BB. Can I have the little switcher for the Keeley and the expression pedal at the same time on the Halo? That's what I want. That would be amazing. So I'd have a little switcher so I can switch presets and tap on the Halo and have the expression pedal. That's what I would want. Jason Carter, you probably already know the answer to this, but who's your favorite guitarist that uses a fuzz? It would be Gilmore, for sure. I mean, Hendrix, of course, but I would say Gilmore. You know, if you're just talking about, when I think of fuzz, I think of early David Gilmour. I think of the Sunface. Sorry, come on, that's Analog Man. The Fuzz Face, and or the Big Muff. But I'm still thinking like, you know, Metal and Dark Side. That's a Fuzz Face. Certainly Eric Johnson too. You know, exactly. You know, Eric Johnson for sure. I love the guitar sounds he's got. Who doesn't? That's like a stupid statement. That's like I like air. I like water. I like pizza. I like Eric Johnson's guitar tone. You know, and of course Hendrix. You know, absolutely. I mean, Hendrix is Hendrix. It's like, yeah, it's not even. I don't say not even worth mentioning. Hendrix is Hendrix. Like, you know, he's Hendrix. I mean, there's Hendrix, Van Halen, Clapton, Page, Beck, like, and there's people after, like, I would put in Van that, you know, but yeah, Hendrix is Hendrix. He's not the guy who influenced me the most directly, but he's the guy who I probably got the most from, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes I listen back and I'm like, oh wow, I'm sounding a bit like Hendrix. I'm like, oh yeah, but I was big into Band of Gypsies, that record, but I use a Univibe. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We're all influenced by Hendrix, whether we know it or not. So yeah, is he the GOAT? For sure. Absolutely. All right, so Beaver will email me. All right, cool. I am not always the most technically minded with this stuff. Sometimes people's like, oh, you could just do this. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I am talking to Dan from that pedal show about doing some stuff together on my pedal board, so I'm looking forward to that. We've been talking about that, but whenever that starts to happen, we'll do it. That pedal show, Mick waxes lyrical about the almost limited opportunities for single coils under heavy drive and fuzz in the recent 5-watt entry episodes. I agree. Like, to me, I love humbuckers, and I'm very particular about the humbuckers that I like. But I'm a single coil Strat guy, whether it's by Michael or Fender or whatever. They're the most comfortable for me. I always go back to them. I'm using Ron Ellis's pickups and my PRSs and my Les Paul, but there's something about the DGT models in particular, and I've talked about this, that can get very stratty, even though it's humbuckers. I guess it's the floating tremolo, and there's qualities to it that I find closer to than when I pick up a Les Paul. The PRS does not sound like a Les Paul because it is not a Les Paul. It's its own thing. It's this kind of middle ground that I really, really love, that's humbuckery, but there is still a stratty quality, particularly to the DGTs, that I really like, and it's probably because of the tremolo, which would make perfect sense. And with the pickups, but overall, yeah, if somebody said to me, like, you know, you got one guitar to play the rest of your life, right now it would be this thing. I am, like we talked about this, Michael made this as the signature model. I could not be happier. It's even better than I thought it was going to be. And it's just what I play all the time. And I've got some other ones that are great guitars, but this is the one. Just pick it up. It's the new number one. This and one of the PRSs, one of the DGTs. Like, I would, if there's like on gigs, I bring those two, and I'm always really happy. Anyway, all right, guys, I appreciate it. BB, man, thanks so much for hanging as always, and thanks for letting me know the mic volumes and such. Very helpful. And then, of course, the hookup with Robert. I appreciate that too. I'm looking forward to talking to him. Would you recommend the UAD Delverb pedal? Oh yeah, absolutely. Also love your lessons. Thank you. Yeah. You know, you got to ask what you want, but for an all-in-one, this is my go-to pedal for. I want delay and reverb on my pedal board. You cannot. I mean, the reverbs, the UA reverbs are ridiculous, as are the delays. You've got 3 different kinds of delay in it. 4 different kinds, actually. And I just think it sounds awesome. And if you want to bring like all-in-one, you got to go in a gig. Like I said, if I bring a small pedal board, I have a reverb pedal and a delay pedal, and blah, blah, blah. I just want to, if I'm going to show up on somebody's gig, this is the way to go. Now, if I'm going to be doing like super delay heavy things, I might not use that one. I would maybe use something with a few more presets in it, or ways to change the things live. But like, you know, if I'm just going to sit in or play a gig or like a blues or a rock gig, I'm just going to bring that. Super easy, and it sounds great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to BB. Once again, I've got my Blues Rock Repeated Licks course on sale for half off. If you like the channel, great way to help, as always. And don't forget to sign up. If you're in the United States, you could win a Lion and an Orion pedal from Universal Audio. I don't have the Orion, but what I've been using is, well, no, I haven't been using tape. It's a tape delay. It's a great little pedal. It sounds awesome. I've tried them. And the Lion, which you're hearing, that's what I'm using this week and the week before. So it sounds great. And you can win it for free. Also, once again, thanks to Robert, Keeley, and BB for getting the Manis to me and the MK3 driver. And if you want to get any of these on your own, you can use the affiliate links down below, and that helps out the channel quite a bit too, because I get a little bit of a kickback on anything that Sweetwater sells. They're very generous. Can't retire on it, but all right, everyone. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I got a video coming out. A little slow on putting out videos lately. I've been doing some writing, and I kind of had to make that choice. There's a lot of mental energy that goes into making videos and courses, and then when music starts flowing, I had to go with that. So hopefully YouTube will not punish me mercilessly for it, as they do when you don't post. They punish you by not recommending your videos. So like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and I will see you all in a few weeks. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy.